welcome to You Outside of the Box, a 30-day, 30 speaker event. And so I'm super excited that you are part of this group, a part of this virtual conference that Ashley has created. And I just wanted to welcome everyone here. I'm one of the first speakers of this 30-day event, and I feel so honored and humbled to be here. So thank you for being on. And if you are watching the replay, hashtag replay so we know that you are coming back to watch this. But for everybody that's here live with me, I want to encourage you to participate throughout this entire presentation and with all the speakers throughout this. It helps us to know what you need and how we can show up best for you. So my name is Holly Hartman, and I'm a certified life transformation and dating and relationship coach. And I'm just so grateful that you are here. And yes, in the comments, feel free to ask questions, say hello. Love to know, where are you calling in from? Because I know Ashley has brought speakers from all across the globe. So say, hey, what state are you living in? Or what country are you living in? Or what time is it where you're at? Love to get to know you guys, and definitely give us some feedback along the way. So just some housekeeping here that I feel like it's important to share is that because Ashley created this amazing collection of speakers outside of the box. So just understand that because it's outside of the box, you may hear things that you've never even thought of before. And so my encouragement is to come into this space with curiosity versus judgment. Look for the similarities, not the differences. Really come in with this open mind to expand your knowledge, to maybe challenge some of your beliefs. And I believe that some of these speakers will challenge some of the beliefs that you've had. And what a beautiful gift this is, that we have this safe container to explore all kinds of different ideas around learning, healing, earning, loving, living, all these wonderful different subjects that has brought this collective together. And not only do I believe that Ashley brought together 30 amazing speakers with amazing content and different perspectives, that every single one of you all, the participants, are here, are divinely inspired for a reason. You all are here to learn something new. So each speaker might speak to you in a different way. So my encouragement is to listen intently, to go, what is that message that I'm supposed to hear? What is divine, creator, whatever your higher power is, or not at all, whatever it is, that connection that brings you here, that brought you here, where you said yes to you, really tap into that and come into this space with just an open mind. So thank you, everybody that's being here. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your comments. I see Massachusetts, I see Indiana, I see across the globe. So please continue to share those, and I will try to watch those as I move along. Also, just wanted to say this is a safe private group. So feel free to share comments in here and keep it safe, a safe container, that whatever is shared within this group, keep this within this group so people can feel like they can create this, this community of safety to learn, expand, and grow. And then just show up for yourself. So my encouragement here too is turn off your phones, turn off the notifications, give yourself the gift of being present in each of these. Now, I know a lot of you all are going to be watching the replay, and that is totally fine. When you do, give yourself that time and say, this is for me. This is my self-care. This is the way that I can honor myself. So right now, I just want you to say, I'm proud of me. Like, say it out loud right now. I'm proud of me for showing up, for doing this for me today. I'm proud of me. And write that in there. I'm proud of myself. Put it in the chat. I want you all to acknowledge that this took a lot of courage to show up for yourself, to go, okay, I'm going to sign up for something that I may not be aware of, that you are expanding who you are just by showing up today. And this is an act of self-care. And that's a lot of what I teach. So I'm a dating and relationship coach. And today I'm going to be talking about embracing joy, but giving yourself permission to do so. So I'm going to invite you to think about permission slips. So when you hear the word permission slip, where does your mind go? I'm here in the US, and oh, yay, awesome. I'm seeing I'm proud of me. Yes, write that for yourself. Show up for yourself. When we write it, when we proclaim it, then it is ours. We get to claim it. So please continue to do that if you're here watching. So permission slip. You know, when I first hear that phrase, I think about that little girl that had to raise her hand to go to the bathroom and say, "Hey, Mrs. Teacher, Mrs. Green, or Mrs. White, or whatever their name is, can I go to the bathroom?" Oh, permission slips, field trips. Yeah, that's where I go to next. Or you take your permission slip to your parents and have them sign off and say, "Yes, I can go on that pumpkin patch ride, or go on the field trip to the museum or to the theater." And so we, you know, and an authority figure has to sign off on that, right? First, it's your teacher allowing you to go to the bathroom, and then an authority figure writes the permission slip to say, "Yes, you can go on that field trip." Um, you might actually see this showing up in your adult life. When's another time we might need a permission slip? Maybe you have a career where you have to show up every day at work and you want to take a vacation, and you have to kind of, so to speak, give a permission slip to take that vacation. But what we don't talk about a lot of times is these unspoken permission slips, because we have been programmed to seek approval from authority figures. And not even just authority figures, people that we actually give our power to. And for me, I'll just kind of share a little bit about myself. So I am a trauma survivor. I was in several toxic relationships, 2 toxic marriages, and had a toxic childhood. My mother's covert narcissist, and that was kind of my ground zero. So a lot of my healing journey has become this recovering people pleaser, recovering perfectionist, recovering approval seeker. And that's really how I got into the cycle of abuse and codependency that I was a part of. And that's a big part of the journey that I have gone through in my own healing. So, okay, full transparency here. And if you don't feel comfortable, that's fine. But are there any other people pleasers, or recovering people pleasers, or approval seekers, or validation seekers, or perfectionists here? I know I'm not the only one. Say me. I know there's so many of us, because we're programmed that way to be that way, especially as women. And so we really have to deconstruct what that looks like and really take our power back. Yes, thank you for proclaiming it. Like, we're in recovery. We can claim that we're in recovery and that we're approval seekers, because we're not perfect, right? And even doing this work, I still find myself seeking approval and validation and asking for permission, right? So it's not going to be perfect, but can we start to make that shift? Can we start to embrace that we can take our authority and our power back, right? And we can do that respectfully. It's not like bulldozing through people. It's just acknowledging first where we are actually asking people for permission, when it should be our divine, inspired power, empowered internal power to do so. Okay, so thank you all my people pleasers that are here. Glad that you're here. You are one of many, and we are not alone in it. So this is where this concept of permission slips come from, right? So oftentimes what we do is we are seeking, especially if you've been in a toxic relationship before, people that are people pleasers, we tend to do that. We tend to allow ourselves to give our power away to other people. And when we do, we're vulnerable, right? Versus really checking into ourselves and go, what is it that I want? What is it that I desire? And how can I actually give that to myself? So I'll share a little story about myself. So my big wake up call was I was reading this book called Healing from Hidden Abuse by Shannon Thomas. And when I read her book, she talked a lot about what hidden abuse looked like, coercive control, covert abuse. And at the time, I knew something was wrong. I didn't know what it was, but I was had unexplained skin rashes. I had chronic UTIs. I had depression, anxiety, fatigue, insomnia. My body was screaming. My body was saying something is wrong. Alarms are going off, but I don't have the voice to say it. I don't know what to say because I don't have the words. But as I was reading this book, I remember huddled down in my son's bed. So I have 2 boys that are 7 and 17. I'm a single mom with 2 boys. And I remember, and it's by Shannon Thomas. Shannon Thomas, Healing from Hidden Abuse. And later I'll put the link into our thing, because that was like one of my spiritual light bulb moments, right? And I recommend this book to a lot of people. It's an easy read. So when I read that book, it was like I was in the middle of this pitch black forest, and like lightning shut down. And then you know how like the forest just lights up, right? And so at that point, I woke up, and it was as if I looked around and I was surrounded by angry wolves. I mean, so many of my relationships. I thought it was just my marriage, but honestly, it was a part of my childhood and family dynamics. It was friendships that I allowed to be toxic around me. It was my work environment. It was a cluster of toxic energy vampires. Now, I could sit there in judgment and say, oh, you. Or I could look and go, I'm in the center. And if I'm in the center, then I'm a part of it. And I'm not going to play the victim, but I'm going to say that I played a part in it. And the part that I played was people pleasing, was codependent, was seeking validation and look from others instead of from myself, seeking permission from authority figures that were not healthy, that were not capable to actually emulate what healthy looked like, right? But I didn't know any different because that was my normal. And they say that green flag or red flags turn to green flags when it's your normal. So this was my entire childhood. And I really didn't understand it until I had that light bulb moment, right? And I'm also somebody that has 13 years in recovery. I haven't drank since, October 3rd, 2009 will be 13 years. And in AA, they talk about how some people get to this place of, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful I'm an alcoholic. And the reason why is because there's a solution. And that's kind of how I felt in that moment when I woke up and said, oh my gosh, that's me. This is where I'm at. I'm a part of this. I'm a part of this dynamic. I'm playing a part of it, right? And thank you. Playing a part of it. So if that's true, then there's something I can do to change it, because we can't change anybody else. We can't change their thoughts, their actions, anything. The only thing we can change is our own thoughts and our own actions. So in that moment, I realized what I was doing. And it wasn't shortly after that, maybe a few months after, and I was doing therapy and different things, but I got this download from my higher power, and he said, okay, so if I'm out seeking validation from everybody else and I'm seeking approval and really giving my power away to everyone except for owning my own power because I didn't know how to. Part of that is my trauma from childhood, because that was my normal. Like that was survival. I survived till that point, right? But my body was saying, you are not surviving anymore. This has to change, right? It was screaming at me. So I got this download of do solo date challenge. But really the first download was do 100 solo dates. And I was like, 100 solo dates? So God, you're telling me I'm going to have to do 100 solo dates before I can date again? And I was like, all right, I don't want to repeat this pattern again. Because when there's a pattern and you're in your life, you're part of that pattern, right? And then the only thing we can do is change ourselves, our thoughts, our actions, ourselves. So great. I have a gift that I can change this. I've been given a gift of awareness. I've been given a gift of this light bulb moment, and I'm not going to waste it because I don't want to repeat this pattern again. This pattern that's lasted my entire life. I want to shift it today, right? So I started doing solo dating. And what did that mean? So I took myself on solo dates. So I went to Home Depot and they had a class online on how to tile a wall. I was like, sure, I'll learn how to do that, right? And then I went and did the Muddy Princess, which is a 5K here, like it's in the US, where you can go and do obstacle courses and stuff. And I was like, I'm feeling so empowered. So I did that. I would take myself out to my favorite restaurant or a movie. I took courses. I did anything that filled my cup. And those things that I'm like, oh, I wish a friend would do with me, or I wish a significant other would do with me. And those things that I would have held off on, instead, I did that for me. I showed up for me. I no longer was looking, and I got chills. I was no longer looking for permission from other people. I was showing up for myself, that person, that little girl that wanted to give that permission slip to somebody else, and that authority and that permission. I got to take that back and internalize that. And so it shifted to solo date challenge, because what I realized very quickly is it was not 100 solo dates. This was a challenge, a lifestyle challenge, to show up for myself, to love myself, to pour all of that energy that I was giving and seeking out, to pour that into myself. And so, yeah, I see somebody filling your cup. Yeah, it takes time and it's a balance. It's not easy. Well, it can be easy and it can be simple. It just depends on your mindset, right? But we have to remove the guilt. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about permission slips. And what I want to encourage you, and we're going to do a 5-minute brain release. Okay. So my encouragement right now is to go get a piece of paper. Now, if you're driving, you'll just meditate during this time, or just think the ideas that are coming through. But if you have this time and space and capacity, I want to give this to you. What I find is when we do these teachings, when we actually hold this container and say, I'm here for this moment right now, I've turned off my notifications. If I can give you a task to do right now and give you the space in that container to do it, you'll do it. Now, if I ask you to do this later on, you may not. You might, later. So we're going to do this right now. We're going to do what I call a brain release. And this is something, just a very easy tool that you can use on your own. So if your brain's all squirrely, by the way, I have ADHD, and you might get that from the way I talk very fast. This allows us to get those thoughts that are coming out of our brain when it's coming at us rapid fire and get it out on paper. Because what I realize here is that whatever we're thinking, our actions start to follow that. And that is what we manifest and create, right? So if we want to change this dynamic of approval seeking and validation seeking, we have to know where our thoughts going. So right now, I'm going to set a timer, and I want you to take 5 minutes, 5 minutes for what I call a brain release, okay? And how that works is I'm going to give you a topic, and you're going to write the number 1. And then you're going to write the very first thought that comes to mind. And then, and no judgment. You don't sit there and reflect on it. It's just like that rapid fire, boom, 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 boom. This is a thought. I'm writing it down. Next. Then you write 2 on the next line, and you do that, and you flip your page however many times you need to, and just go all the way down the line. Okay, so right now, what I want you to do is this 5-minute brain release on a piece of paper. So has everybody got their piece of paper? We're going to talk about permission slips in this brain release. I want you to take 5 minutes to really think about what in life right now do you need to give permission to, or that you're seeking permission from. So a way to do this is start by making a list of everything that you need to give permission to. Or another way to look at it is write down everything you wish others would do for you that you always end up doing anyway. So either one of those, what are ways that you need to give yourself permission? And I'll give you a couple quick tips on that real quick. Permission to play, permission to rest, permission to love your body, permission to feel all your feelings, guilt and all, permission to release toxic relationships, permission to trust yourself, permission to be authentic. So whatever it is that right now in this moment you need to give yourself permission to, or you're seeking that approval from someone else, I want you to release all that and put this on paper. So I'm going to go ahead and set a timer. You ready? 5 minutes, and I'll give you all an update. And I'm going to play a little music. So if it's distorted, just let me know. 2 minutes. Thirty seconds. Okay, welcome back. Great job, everybody. I see everybody stayed on, which shows me that you did the work. And so I want to invite you, before I kind of explain a little bit the next step in this, is tap into how you feel in this moment. First, just one word feeling, and if you'll put that in the chat. No judgment, no anything other than to be seen, to acknowledge what you're feeling. You might have felt anxious about it. You might feel comfort. You might feel excitement. You might feel disgust. Whatever that feeling is, if you can put that in the comment right now, that feeling that you felt after doing this brain release. So if everybody can make a comment down below. Okay, so what we're going to do is I want you to look at that list. And I want you to just, with curiosity, not judgment, and I hope that, I love this, grace awareness. Thank you all there might be a little lag on the comments for me. I want you to look at that list that you just created and just reflect over it. Are the thoughts that are coming up, are they positive? Are they more negative? Did they bring any clarity around some of the thoughts that you're having around this? So really look over that and really take some time you might have some new awarenesses. I see anxious and a little overwhelmed. I think that's completely normal, relaxed. Thank you all for being so vulnerable and sharing what your feelings are. I know that's not easy for everybody. So thank you for showing up in that way. So when we look at these lists and we go, okay, where am I giving my permission to? And what do I really want? Oftentimes, if we don't take that time to really reflect on it, we just go through the motions. And that's typically what we do until the pain gets great enough, right? The reason why people change is, one, they're either inspired to change or the pain is great enough. And so my hope is through this 30-day event that you're going to hear speakers that are going to inspire you. And you may add more to your permission slip list, right? Things that you want to give yourself permission to. Maybe permission to be curious, permission to try some of these new things that you're hearing about and maybe you've never heard of in the first time before. But right now, I want to encourage you to kind of maybe look back. Okay, so some people here are entrepreneurs, some are single moms, some are just fascinating women. We come from all walks of life here, so there is no judgment. We honor everybody here. But my encouragement, the things that things that pop up in my mind are like, okay, well, I wanted to start a business and I've been talking about it for like 6 months. What's stopping you, right? A lot of times we're trying to seek validation from someone else to say it's okay to show up. It's okay to have your voice. It's okay to be you, authentically, unapologetically you. But the reality is we're then giving our power to somebody else. And so I really want to encourage you to continue to look at this list and go, where am I giving my power away? And how can I give myself permission to do that instead? Right. Okay. So when I first started thinking this concept of permission slip, a good friend of mine, Denise Metzger, will be on tomorrow talking. And a few, like this summer, her and I met, and she has done this thing called Wacky Wednesday over the past decade. Or, well, she did it for a decade. She took a break and she'll tell you all about that tomorrow and her mission and why. But I love being playful, but I wasn't giving myself permission to play. Not really. Now, with Soul Date Challenge, I was to a certain degree, but I still wasn't fully showing up as my authentic self. And so on Wednesdays, every Wednesday, her and I dress up. We do go to a networking meeting, but then we just go out in the world and we just play. We have fun. And Wacky Wednesday for us, we go a little overboard. But that's my way of playing, by showing up unapologetically myself. So my encouragement right now, so I have on the files in this group, or in one of the other things, and I'll post it in this thread as well, I created a little workbook, so to speak, a little PDF that you can do journal exercises to explore this a little bit more. And I put a few down on there. So permission to play. How are you allowing yourself to play? Your little inner child that needs to heal, that wants to show up. How do you do that? Do you show up creative? Like, do you give yourself permission to play in like a color, or even color outside of the line? Some people are like, well, I don't paint well. Who cares? Do you give yourself permission to not be perfect? To just put paint on a thing and just do it imperfect, because that's beautiful in itself. Do you allow yourself to dance? Well, I don't dance well. Who cares? Do you enjoy the beat of the music? Turn it on. Do it in your house. Do it naked. It doesn't matter. Give yourself permission to play. Because when we show up every day and all we do is punch in a clock, and then we wake up the next morning and we do the same thing, and if your life feels like Groundhog Day, you're not giving yourself permission in a lot of areas, right? So permission to rest. This week, I'll be fully honest, was a tough week for me. I'm trying to deal with some health stuff for my son and trying to get in doctor's appointments, and you get, blocked and all this. And I'm like, so I had to give myself permission to rest. I'm like, I know I get to show up today and I get to present, but this morning I shut off my phone. I took an Epsom salt bath. I turned on music. I've lit some sage, had my gemstones there with me, and I rested. I gave myself permission, because I said, okay, if I'm not rested, I'm not going to show up as my best self. And everybody here listening deserves my best self, right? I deserve my best self more than anything, right? So how do we give ourselves permission to rest? Oftentimes what the world teaches us as women especially is go to burnout first. And until your body's failing, that's when you get to rest. That's when it's too late. That's when disease sets in. That's when depression sets in and anxiety, and it takes so much harder to get out of it. Do it now. Give yourself permission to rest. Permission to feel your feelings. Like I mentioned earlier, that I have 13 years in sobriety. Before that, I wasn't giving myself permission to feel. I was using all kinds of things to numb out. I was numbing out on alcohol, on sex, on shopping, on TV, on anything that would allow me to not have to feel. Because I wasn't given permission to do that. I was the good girl. I was the people pleaser. I was the perfectionist, the approval seeker. And when you do all that, a lot of times you don't give yourself that opportunity to feel angry. When I was healing past my toxic marriage, that was the first time I really allowed myself to feel rage. Like rage. And I'm like, this is so uncomfortable, but so freeing. Ways that I got to do that is I would go to the bowling alley, and I would envision the little people's heads at the bowling pin and like throw it with rage. Because when we have these feelings, we have to let our body feel them, unapologetically feel them. Now, how we deal with those feelings and how they affect other people, yes, we have to own our actions, but allowing ourselves to feel them and flow through them, that's how we heal them. That's how we appreciate the whole spectrum, because this is part of the human experience. So do you give yourself permission to feel? And that also includes joy. We talked about here today about embracing joy. Brene Brown talks about this. She was on a show with Oprah Winfrey on her Soul Sunday, and it was talking about how joy is so terrifying. A lot of us are used to some of the harder feelings, and I'm gonna like tear up here. We're scared of joy, and a lot of it's because we've been giving permission to other people so much that we don't have any control over any of it, and we're effectively giving our joy to energy vampires or toxic people, or just people that truly aren't capable of doing it, because it's not their job to give us our joy. So how do we give ourselves the joy? We give ourselves the joy by loving ourselves, by validating our own self, by solo dating, by self-care, by filling up our own cup, by exploring things that we don't normally do, like showing up like this, exploring these new concepts that you may not already have. Give yourself permission to trust yourself. I don't know about you, but I was a really good self-betrayer. I would say I would do something like, I don't know, a diet. And then the next day I'm eating like an Oreo or ice cream. And not to say that I'm not going into the diet world or anything like that, but it was a promise that I'd made myself. Or I'm going to get up and work out today. And then I didn't. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And the next day I don't. And the next day I don't. Or I make a promise to do something in my career. I'm going to create a landing page, and I have the time to do it, but instead I scroll somewhere else. So, it's not that these things aren't capable. I'm just not doing it for myself, and I'm betraying myself because of feelings, because of fear of the unknown, all kinds of things that will hold us back from giving ourselves permission to do that, right? Or even just guilt for doing the thing that would bring me joy. That happens. So how do we build that trust back? We start doing those little things that we say we're going to do, and we start to build that back. But sometimes we just have to start with giving ourselves permission to do it. I give you, Holly, permission to show up imperfect. Ooh, that's hard to do sometimes, right? Just show up imperfect. And then give yourself permission to be authentic. And oftentimes we may not even know what that is because we've worn masks for so long. So give yourself permission to try. Try to show up as you. So today, and thank you all. I'm going to go through what you're saying. Feelings are valid, but I'm afraid to have been validating negative feelings, not allowing myself to feel the positive. Yeah. And that's where a lot of times we're fearful of joy. It's like, oh, I have felt these other ones for so long. I know what those feel like. But to feel happiness, to feel love, to feel joy, sometimes those are even more vulnerable to feel and scary to feel. Because if I do that, then what comes next? A lot of times we catastrophize. Like, if I can feel joy, if I allow myself to feel joy, then the sky will fall next. Something's going to happen. And that fear holds us back from even getting a glimpse of joy and embracing the things that we have. Yeah, these broken promises we carry. Yeah, absolutely. Guilt feelings of doing something I want to do and enjoy it. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, the guilt that we put on ourselves and the guilt that society does too. So many things. So yeah, it's scary to feel joy. And I want to vocalize that, right? So my session today is about embracing joy and giving ourselves permission. But sometimes we have to work through some of these other things that are really difficult before we can do that. And sometimes we just have to celebrate those small wins so we can build that trust back and say, I can embrace these things. I can give myself that permission instead of looking for the outside world to give us validation. Because really, honestly, the outside world, a good portion of it is toxic. When we look at these limiting beliefs that are holding us back, if you really look at where that came created and you look at that person's lifestyle and say, is that who I want to be? Why am I giving them my permission slip for my life, for the joy that I want to have, for what I want to embrace for the future and how we can impact the world? Because we're all here for a reason. We're all here for a purpose. But if we keep giving our permission slips out to energy vampires and toxic people, or people that just aren't capable because they don't know yet, we're not getting to stand into our own power. We're giving it away. So my encouragement today is maybe take some time to reflect after today and go, where am I giving my permission away? And where can I take it back? Where can I embrace joy in the moment and savor it and feel it? Or maybe where am I not allowing myself to feel because I'm judging that feeling or I'm being critical? Oh, another one that I didn't talk about, I meant to talk about is, how we feel about our bodies. Give myself permission to live in the body that I have in this moment. We're so critical. We look in the mirror and we go, oh, and like someone says, look in the mirror. How many times have you done this? Have you seen Louise Hay's mirror work where we just go and I say, I love you. I really, really love you. How many people actually do that? And look, without going, I see some crow's leg there, and I see the wrinkles here, and oh my gosh, I got a chin here, and like, do we just look and just love ourselves? We don't do that. We don't take the time. So today, my encouragement, and so thank you everybody that is showing up here and sharing your experience, your strength, your hope. Please continue to do that if you're watching the replay, because I want to hear what you're struggling with and then how you can do this. So if you've not done mirror work before, check out Louise Hay. I do mirror work challenges as well, because oftentimes we need support when we're doing things that are new. And that's why I love this group and why we're doing this. But my challenge to you, go download that workbook. I have other reflection questions. And then I've also created little permission slips. Because what I want you to do is look at each one and go, okay, permission to play. How can I give myself permission to play today? And I want you to write it out. I want you to tear that sheet off and I want you to write it out and put it somewhere. Put it on your refrigerator, put it in your car, put it somewhere where you can see it. What's the one that really stands out to you right now that's been holding you back? Maybe for months, maybe for years, maybe for decades. What's holding you back? What do you need to give yourself permission for? Is it to play? Is it to rest for the first time ever? Is it to look in the mirror and love yourself, all of you, authentically? What is it that's holding you back? Give yourself permission today to do that, to show up for you. So I just wanted to say thank you for being here today. I encourage you to embrace joy. Give yourself permission to do that. Anybody that is watching that, please come back and give comments. We'd love to hear from you. I will be talking again next week, and I'll be talking about out of the box dating, because I also am a dating and relationship coach. But I just want to honor everybody that's here, that you showed up for yourself, and I'm really grateful for you. If you want to connect with me further, I have a group online called Solo Date Challenge, where we empower women to learn to love themselves through solo dating. And it's on Facebook. It's a free group. Come join us. It doesn't matter your relationship status, whether you're married or single, it doesn't matter. We all need to learn how to love ourselves. And this is kind of where we give ourselves permission to do so. I also do one-to-one coaching, and I have 2 courses that are coming out. One called B4 Relationship Solution, where I help women learn, heal in these toxic cycles. We dig a lot deeper and get ready for a relationship. So you can be a healthy dater to attract a healthy relationship, attract that healthy partner. And I also am launching a men's challenge, the same course, and I'm collaborating with a male coach. So if you have men in your life that also need this, I believe we all do, because if we all heal and we have that soul collective doing it, we can actually change the world. And that is a belief that I have. But thank you everybody that showed up today. Give yourself a pat on the back. You hung in there for 40 minutes. Woohoo! Really proud of you. And I look forward to connect with you. Feel free to send me a friend request. I'm here for you. I'm supporting you. And I can't wait to hear all the other speakers too. So thank you all. Many blessings.